Happy Devils Wednesday. I almost forgot what day of the week it is because we did a podcast the other day, Nick, and I'm all screwed up. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 26, and it's called Holy Moly. Holy Moly. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano, Pucks and Pitchforks editor, co-host of the State of the Fan Address on the Let's Go Devils podcast platforms, powered by Nova Product Design on the Primetime Radio Network. Nick, we got a big podcast tonight. Let's get to it. Let's start off with the news today that Tom Fitzgerald is joining the coaching staff, the assistant GM of the New Jersey Devils. What are your thoughts on that, Nick?
Sam, something stinks. I'm not gonna lie to you. Something just doesn't add up on this. Now Tom Fitzgerald has been on a coaching staff before, and I listened to his comments today. It sounds like it's something he really likes to do. It sounds like it's something he's wanted to do, and something he kind of foregone doing to do the front office stuff to kind of like make himself stand out. And obviously he's been a really good front office guy for the Devils, and just kind of following around Shero. But for those who don't know, I guess technically Tom Fitzgerald is a Stanley Cup winning coach, because when the Pittsburgh Penguins fired Michael Therrien and added Dan Bylsma to the bench from the AHL club, I think it was back in 2009, he added Tom Fitzgerald as part of the staff. So, this is a Stanley Cup winning assistant coach, I guess. He went back to the front office, I believe, right after that, the next season, and he hasn't coached since. But, it's an interesting move. The part that kind of stinks for me is the fact that they're telling us that John Hines asked for this. I don't know about you, Sam, but if I go into my boss's office and I say, "Hey, I think things will go better if my boss works under me for a little while," I don't know how well that goes. I know it's different. Sports is different in other concepts of life, but this is just such an odd situation. What says you, Sam?
Well, this is what I think about Tom Fitzgerald. I was the one that created that title, Holy Moly. Possible mole? No. If he asked for it, it's hard to believe, but at the same time, it's like, when I think of Tom Fitzgerald, I think about the Florida Panthers days when the rats were thrown on the ice and this and that. But to have him there, we talked about it in our breaking news podcast when after the Devils coincidentally lost to the Florida Panthers, that I was telling Tyler Kelly, it'd be kind of cool to have, the coach by committee, one's offense, one defense, and then you have the GM right there, which was Lou Lamoriello. But the assistant GM is on the bench right now. Is this a coach by committee? What is this? Maybe I'll give the benefit of the doubt right now. John Hines asking for it. The optics don't look like that, but you never know. He may need some help here, because the team's 0-4-2 right now.
Yeah, I mean, and we are going to get to Dan Rice in just a couple minutes, and he's going to tell us a lot more about this. Obviously, no Chris Westcott this week. Weird situation, but whatever. We had Dan Rice jump in at the last minute. Dan Rice of the Hockey Writers, great guy, and really excited to have him on. But he's going to talk to us a lot about it too. But before we get him on, I do want to point out that I asked this question in an article I wrote today after they announced this news. So, if Tom Fitzgerald goes in there and says that Nikita Gusev should be on the second line, and John Hines says no, he should be on the fourth, who wins that? And then I asked another question. Elaine Nasruddin is John Hines' right-hand man. So is Tom Fitzgerald under Nasruddin, or is Fitzgerald the second in command now, and his say goes over everybody but Hines? I think there's a hierarchy issue with this move. On paper, I like this move. I do. I think it makes sense to put a guy like Fitzgerald, who has such a hold of the, they put him in charge of transactions this year. So he had a very large hand in getting all these people. And he was the reason why they're in New Jersey right now, because he saw something out of them. And maybe he just sees that, maybe he'll focus more on the new people. But there's a problem when nobody knows who's the guy in charge. You know that. It happens in sports, it happens in politics, it happens at work, it happens at school. No matter what phase of life that you are in, if there's a hierarchy issue, there is just a general issue. So I think that that's going to be a problem.
Well, I know one thing for sure. Tom Fitzgerald is going to be the liaison to Ray Shero. Telling what's going on. I mean, you've heard of stories about Bill Murray, the trainer, back in the day. There were, rumors and stories that, he was relaying everything back to Lou Lamoriello, not so much as a spy, but, how's the culture in the locker room? What are the players thinking? And this and that. And you know what? Added another guy on the bench. Look, like what we said on Monday, Nick, it's all about winning at this point. Winning solves everything. So I don't care what the Devils do. If they have to put 15 assistant coaches behind the bench and the Devils are winning, do it. Again, it does sound kind of strange that John Hines would ask Tom Fitzgerald to be behind the bench. But again, if Ray Shero made that order, what is John Hines going to do? Say no? The guy wants to, John Hines wants to turn things around, but but if it works, it works, but we'll see on Thursday. And I'll tell you, and before we get Dan Rice on, if the Devils lose on Thursday by like 5 goals, it's very hard to convince this fan base that John Hines should be the coach from here on forward. And I know that, I think Bob McKenzie dispel the rumors that, he's on the hot seat, this and that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much longer the fan base, especially the season ticket holders that have a stake in this, you better turn it around now, and you could start by beating the Rangers, because I'll tell you, it'll buy you another couple weeks, because fans are not happy right now. And that's why we, did that last podcast. They're just absolutely not happy. But right now, we should concentrate on the New York Rangers. So let me get Dan on, Nick. And
I got a lot of comments to go through. The comment section has been buzzing, so I can talk to some of these folks.
All right, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Slinko, he's the last guy I saw a comment. He said, with Green and Hischer out tomorrow, doesn't matter who's behind the bench, top center, and deep. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a big deal, obviously, long term. I think that Nico being out hurts. Green being out has clearly hurt. The penalty kill has been, considerably worse. We've had to put Will Butcher on the penalty kill, which is an interesting move. He actually wasn't that terrible at it. But I think it does still matter who's behind the bench. This team has a lot of talent. The Rangers defense is Swiss cheese, just like ours. So, and I think we actually have more talent on the defensive end. We just kind of have to figure the system and how to fit those pieces in together. And I think that that's just been the issue so far. So, yeah, I think it does. I think it still does matter. I actually think the Devils are going to beat the Rangers tomorrow. There's just a lot of adversity on this team, and I think that they have enough players here. I think Zajac is the guy who's going to step up and kind of rile up the room. Matt, they should just have the fans vote for Lions. Matt, let's do it. Let's try to get that push going. I'll talk to some people, see if we can get a fan vote for the Lions. Will be a very interesting vote. I've seen how fans' votes have gone before, aka all-star teams. But that would be an interesting situation. Patrick asked who decides who is a scratch because there are some very questionable scratch players. Was it Hines who decides that? Yeah, I mean, I had to imagine that Hines makes that final decision. There are other people's opinions that he takes into account, but he's the guy who's going to make that final decision. So I think that, like you said, there are those questionable decisions with the Lions, and I think that's been a major factor. It seems like that they're trying to figure out a lot of things that they should have figured out in the preseason. It seems like that. I'm trying to put it into words, but it just seems like they weren't ready for the season. Like they looked so good in the preseason. I understand it's the preseason. It's lesser competition, and it's kind of like half lines, and it's like taking a pitcher in spring training and thinking he's going to be dominant, but you can't look like the chemistry's there so fluidly in the preseason and then it just not work out. It just, something does not click there. So I think that there's that issue where you went from everything looks like sunshine and roses in the preseason and there's nary a fault to everything is going wrong. Nothing is working. And there's just a disconnect between this team. I mean, a lot of players that we know have been some of the best in the league have looked not so great. Nico, before he got hurt, didn't look great. He doesn't have any goals yet, and I know like numbers aren't everything, but like his advanced statistics don't look great. So he was getting off to a rough start, and we didn't expect that. We expect maybe a Hughes to get off to a rough start, a Gusev to get off to a rough start, a Subban to get off to a rough start, Simmons trying to get used to a new system, Zaka, we expect to have a rough start because he missed most of training camp with a visa issue and a contract issue. But Nico has been here. He's been here the whole time, and he had a rough start. So, and now he's injured, which really hurts. I am very interested to see Jack Hughes on that top line tomorrow. Looks like that's how it's going to be based on the lines, but I'm very interested to see how that works out. Looks like Sam is back.
Yeah, I'm back. I have Dan Rice on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline. Dan Rice writes for the Hockey Writers. He is the Devils beat reporter. Dan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. How about you guys?
Well, I mean, we're doing really good, Dan. I really appreciate you coming on this last minute. Like I said, we had Chris. Something came up with Chris. So now we have Dan. Dan, you coming on this last minute. You know what that makes you? That makes you a friend of the podcast. So how does it feel to be a friend of the Let's Go Devils podcast?
It's always good to have friends. Friends are always better than enemies.
Yes. Yeah, we don't need enemies around here. We have enough Rangers fans in our area. We don't need Devils fans to be our enemies either. So Dan, the Devils made a big move ? Today, adding Tom Fitzgerald to the bench. Dan, tell me how I'm supposed to feel about Tom Fitzgerald.
I think it's a little eye-opening, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as maybe everybody else is going to think that it is, or already thinks that it is. One thing I love about Tom and the few times that I've been able to be in a scrum in an interview with him, he keeps it real. He doesn't pull any punches. If he thinks something, he's going to say it, and I'm sure that's no different when he's talking to players, whether it's privately on the ice or I guess the case will be tomorrow, and a few of these games going forward will probably be things that he'll be saying to them on the bench. I think he's a different voice. I think maybe it puts the players on alert a little bit, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think he's they're grooming him to be the next coach or anything like that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some people bring that up, thinking that like Fitzgerald could, it's the first move to the next move and making him the head coach. And I know for a long time there was chatter that Tom Fitzgerald was interviewing for a lot of GM jobs, and that seems like that's a more stable position, if you ask me. Is that he's going to be like the next guy, and he's just trying to find the right situation. And I believe he interviewed for that Carolina job, or at least he was up for it. So that's why that's why when people were bringing up that they think that this is the first move to the next move, that kind of confused me. I mean, what do you think? You think that this is something that he's looking to do long term at all? Do you think he's trying to make the move to the bench in general, even if it's not to replace Hines, just like was a general move? Or do you think this is just, my team is in trouble, I'm here to help?
I think it's the latter. I definitely think that's the case. I wasn't there today, but I tried to listen to as many of the interviews that Ray, Tom, and John Hines did. It was my understanding that it was Hines' idea to bring him down, to get a fresh set of eyes, to see, if there's maybe something they could tweak a little bit. And when it comes down to it, they've been in position to win some of these games. It's a decision here, a decision there of the players on the ice. I don't think it has anything to do with the coaches, and that's just my opinion. But it's one of these things too, where it's obviously started to snowball. It's still very, very early in the season. I think the team probably, and I think most teams do this, and they look at the season in 10-game segments. I think they have a few more home games here coming up before they head out for that Western Canada trip. I think if they're still, say the record is, they have 1 or 2 wins at the end of that Canada trip, and the losses are getting close to 10, then I think maybe we start to look at maybe there does need to be a change. But I think for now it's way too early to hit the panic button. They have a nice stretch here where they play, like I said, the home games, and they have a week off, I think, after the Saturday game. So they have some time to tighten things up. And you look at the stat sheet, and frankly, a lot of guys just need to play better. You have a lot of guys that are supposed to be relied upon to be important parts of this team, and they're just not producing like that as of this current moment.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about this stretch. The Devils will play 6 straight home games if you include the game in Florida on Monday. They don't have to leave their own beds for 3 weeks. And then that comes right before that Western Canada road trip that I think we talked about it last time you were on, that Devils have been pretty good at. But like you said, if you're going out of a 6-game homestand and you're coming out with 1 win, then I think you're right. Like, you can't do that and just be bad. Like, the schedule has been set up for the Devils to find their chemistry. There's lots of practice time in between here. They have a game against New York tomorrow, Vancouver on Saturday. Then, like you said, they have 5 days off. They have 1 game, and then they have 4 days off. And then they play Tampa. So, I mean, I think, like I said, the schedule was set up to turn this around. So I ask you, Dan, how do they turn this around?
I think it starts with winning tomorrow's game. Obviously not a must win because, and I guess a lot of us are going to say this now after what we witnessed last year, but look at what the Blues did. I mean, they were dead last in the league in January, and they turned it around pretty remarkably and storybook ending kind of deal. That's obviously not going to happen every year, but we've seen some crazy things happen, whether it's teams winning as an 8 seed, winning the Stanley Cup, or teams doing what the Blues did last year. There's still so many games to go, and just off the top of my head, I remember a couple of years over the last, say, 5 or 6 years where the Devils started 3-0, 4-0, and eventually it didn't work out, obviously, right? I mean, they haven't won the Cup since 2003. They've been to the playoffs once in 5, 6, 7, 8 years. These things, it's not going to happen. They're not going to win if they win tomorrow, it's not going to turn everything around. They're not going to be 4-4-2 or anything like that, but it's a start, and then you build off of that. And I think maybe tomorrow just win a period. Score first. All the usual cliches that you're going to hear. You'd like to see. I think it would be good for the players' confidence as well as some of the fans that may be hitting the panic button and want to fire everybody, trade everybody, and re-sign Taylor Hall for 1 million years. There's a lot of things that are going to happen between now and the time they hit the road for that Western Canada trip, and just take it one day at a time and one game at a time, and probably tomorrow one period, one shift at a time.
Yeah, Dan, I wouldn't even want to know how many zeros would need to be on a 1 million year contract, but that would be an interesting one. Ray Shero is big on breaking the mold, but I think that one's a lot.
So maybe a little overzealous there. Sorry about that. But
no, you're fine. You're fine. So I need to know, the one thing I need to know, Dan, is what's going on with these blown leads. You're there, you're watching them happen. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was watching that game on Columbus Day, and I thought they were gonna lose at that entire game. I was like, we're up 4-1. Devils are up 4-1. I still think they're gonna lose this game. The confidence is not there. The Edmonton game, they were up by 1 when Coleman took that penalty. I thought it was over. What's going on with this Devils team that they I don't know. Are they taking a step back? Help me out since you're there. You're seeing it live.
One of the things I noticed is they're struggling to make, for lack of a better term, simpler plays or simple kind of plays, whether it's chipping a puck out. We've seen, I think it was the Winnipeg game where they got caught in their own end for a really long time. They gave up a late goal in the second period in that game, if I remember right as well. Little things like that, where if they don't give up that first Winnipeg goal, that game might turn out very differently. A really tough scenario for Blackwood to come in that game, cold off the bench. Corey can't finish the game. That's a tough spot, and I don't like to make excuses, but I almost kind of want to give them a pass on that because they probably could have lost that game in regulation if not for the goal post. The Boston and the Philly games, they didn't have the lead, so they couldn't blow it, but they didn't score, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where they have a lot of guys on this team that should be producing more, and they're not. I think we all expected Hughes to have maybe 4 or 5 points by now, and he doesn't. I don't think that's necessarily eye-opening. I think he's an 18-year-old kid. He's getting adjusted. He's not playing against the Providence Bruins anymore like he did in the preseason. So we have to give him a little bit of time, and there's other guys that really need to step up and not make mistakes, be harder on the puck, chip it out when they have the chance, not ice it and put your team in a bad situation. And the defense, I think they definitely need a little bit of an upgrade, and I think they thought maybe they can skid by with what they have right now, and maybe they need to add one more piece there. And if the next question is about Ty Smith, I think I was fine with him going back because there's nothing wrong in my mind with another year of development, and I look at it the same way I look at the Boquist situation, where if those guys, Boquist, he's obviously here, but Smith isn't, either one of them, if they struggle throughout the season, that's it. You can't send them back to where they were. They're stuck in New Jersey for the whole year. And then you have a guy that maybe sits out 40 or 50 games, and that's not really ideal for development purposes as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, that's fair. You mentioned Boquist, though, and he doesn't seem to be getting into the lineup. He was in that lineup against Florida. I thought he looked all right in his first game. I'm losing which one was the first game, but his underlying numbers look good. Average. His underlying numbers looked average, but for a first game in the NHL, it seemed like it was all right. Is there something we're missing with this kid, or are you seeing something that makes you think that he deserves to not play?
Not necessarily, but and I always thought with him too. Once we talked about it with the Gusev acquisition. It kind of just it limited the spot for him, I guess, to play top 6 minutes, top 9 minutes. Where now you're keeping him around to as of now with a almost fully healthy forward group. He's going to play fourth line or third line minutes, and maybe he needs to see a little bit more ice time to be more productive. And you would love to get him in the AHL, and he could play top line minutes and really develop and hone his craft, get used to the style of game over here compared to over in Europe. But I think throughout the season we're going to see either a trade or injuries, and he'll get that more ice time. Maybe it's even tomorrow. If obviously Nico's not going to play, right? So maybe he gets a little bit more ice time. He gets an elevated role, and he can excel in those situations. I think a guy like him, he's going to be best suited playing with skill guys like Hughes, Bratt, Gusev, Taylor Hall. Then if you're putting him on the third or fourth line with a guy like Zajac or Rooney or Hayden, Miles Wood, any of those guys, like, to me, it's just, he doesn't seem like he's at this stage of his career and at this age, he's not suited to play those type of minutes. And especially, if they put him on a wing with Zajac, we all know Zajac is generally going to play against the other teams, one of their top lines, and it's going to be more of a defensive role. I'm not sure I want to throw a kid into that role at that age and with that limited experience.
Okay, that makes sense. I understand that. Just seems weird that they kept him. It seems like that you could have had the same, thought process for him and Ty Smith. But
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
So the last thing I just want to ask you about, obviously the biggest Achilles heel for the Devils this season has been special teams, and it doesn't make sense on paper to me. The penalty kill was one of the better. It was their best unit last season. Obviously, they lost Andy Green to, I think, a broken finger. If you want to listen to Chico Reish, if you want to listen to the Devils, it's an upper body injury. But you lose Andy Green. He's probably your best penalty killing defenseman. But the power play being as bad as it is makes no sense to me. So, did we just overhype this entire team? From penalty kill to power play to everything, or what happened here, Dan?
The last part of your question, I would agree with to a degree. I think everybody was maybe a little more excited or wanted to have something more to look forward to than maybe they are. As for the power play, it's definitely concerning. It's 0 for 16 or whatever they're up to, but at the same time, it's just more glaring because it's the beginning of the season. It's 0 for 16 in the first 6 games. There's plenty of times where a team will go 0 for 20 or 0 for 15 in the middle of the season in games 41 through 47, and it's sure it's something to talk about, but it's not. They're not going to go, I guess, 0 for the season on the power play, and I don't think any team has ever done that. And I have a pretty full confidence in saying that I don't think that'll happen. Hopefully, I'm right about that, but I just think it's one of those things where it's like I think I kind of mentioned before, where things start snowballing and. They're in this little bit of a rut, and they're probably trying to be a little bit too creative, a little too fancy, all the usual cliches, gripping the sticks too tightly. And I think once they get one, I think then maybe we'll see a little bit of an avalanche of good feeling and more power play goals. Maybe they'll even get 2 in one game. Who knows? I think tomorrow's game is it might come at the perfect time. A game against the Rangers. The crowd, I'm sure, will be lively. Those games have generally been entertaining for the most part over the last couple of years. Even at the time when the Devils have been out of it, and the Rangers kind of on a downswing now, and they're rebuild on the fly or whatever they're doing. I think it should be a good game, and maybe they get some real confidence out of that, and then carry it over into the next game against Vancouver. And if they're 2-4-2 on late Saturday afternoon, I think that's great, and I think all the issues will kind of be behind them by that point. You can just start moving forward to the next 2 games, and then off to the next 10-game segment.
Well, Dan, I really appreciate you coming on tonight, kind of helping talk us off the ledge a little bit. Like you said, you're a go-to guy when we had a guest drop out, and we got lucky that you were available. Give us your insight, your expertise, and I feel a little bit better. I think the fan base and everybody listening out there, I think they feel a little bit better too, thanks to you. So you've been easing minds tonight, Dan, and we thank you for that.
Well, I'm not necessarily a doctor in real life, but I do play one on Twitter. So I'm happy to help out with you guys anytime you need me to come on.
Dan, I don't think any PhD is big enough to help Twitter, but I appreciate you offering. Thank you so much.
No problem, guys. Anytime. Have a great night.
All right.
Thanks, Dan. That's Dan Rice from the Hockey Writers, Devils beat writer. Actually, you know what? I think Dan Rice kind of reminds me of you, Nick Villano.
Why is
Let's
that?
Let's Go Devils podcast when special guests have scheduling conflicts and this and that. You were our go-to guy, and somehow you finagled your way into the State of the Fan address about a year later. Isn't that interesting? So Dan could be the next Nick Villano on the Let's Go Devils podcast platform. And he is right now in the farm system. I think he's right now moving up to Binghamton. Moving on.
Hey, listen, like I said, he's now a friend of the podcast, Dan Rice. That's how we had to address him at all times. And don't mess that up, Sam. You have to remember, we got friend of the podcast, Chica Resch. You got friend of the podcast, Dan Rice. You got friend of the podcast, Kevin Clark. We're building our friends. We have a lot of friends. We have a lot of followers and we have a lot of friends. I feel the love. I'm not gonna lie to you, Sam. I felt a lot of hate this week because I wrote that Brian Boyle piece that I promised everybody on Monday. I had half of the people wanting to hug me and said that they loved the idea. The other half said that I was the biggest city in the world. So it's good to get friends after a week like that.
Oh yeah. Look. We're all frustrated right now, but we're going to come together when the Devils start winning.
Yeah. So, Sam, we got Rumor Patrol now. We're going to go on the Rumor Patrol. Are you ready for the Rumor Patrol?
Before you do that, could I just do a quick plug? Real quick.
Do your plugs. Plug it in. Glad
Tomorrow, Thursday, October 17th, before the Devils Rangers take place at Prudential Center starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. The fun starts. The hashtag We Are the Fun tour continues. Shorts Guy, Beer Baron, Sam Wu will be with special guests at PJ Ryan's at the Rock at 35 Edison Place, right across the street from the Prudential Center. And on Thursday, Let's Go Devils podcast, drink specials, Budweisers and Bud Light buckets, 5 to 16 ounces five 16-ounce cans for $15.99 USD. Captain Morgan shots, $3. And we have some pretty nice guests coming in. I confirmed with Pete, the organist. He is coming in with 2 tickets for Saturday's game to raffle off. We give away a lot of free stuff free stuff. We don't charge at the door. It's just free things that we give away. We got some prizes, some bobbleheads to raffle off. Also, I believe Arlette is coming. I just need to confirm it with her. And we also potentially have a real special guest. We can't say that person's name, but it is a human being. Right, Nick? I mean, we talked off air about it, a couple texts. What do you think about that special guest putting it over the top?
Yeah, I mean, I loved Igor Yakovlev last year. So the fact that you're probably pulling him away from Russia and getting him on the podcast tomorrow, I'm excited about it.
Oh, yeah. And we're also... Can you imagine if we got John Hines for this podcast right before the game? Can you imagine?
Sure. I could imagine. I could imagine. I could definitely imagine. But, we all have dreams, Sam.
Yeah, be like, Coach Hines, before you go back to the game, you want some hot wings? Anyway, never mind. So, all right. So I was interrupting with some promos, but why don't you go to what you were about to start before I interrupted you?
Oh, no, you're fine. So Elliot Friedman came out today, and I learned this about 30 seconds before you put me on the podcast, and, we were running a little behind tonight, as everybody knows, but as I'm coming onto the podcast, I'm like, wait. I saw one of those weird rumor sites, and I was like, oh, this is just some dumb stuff that they make up. But then they attributed Elliot Friedman apparently saying that if Taylor Hall becomes available, one of the first teams knocking on Ray Sherrow's door, making those phone calls, will be the Edmonton Oilers. Sam, I have some thoughts, but I'll let you go first. Do you have any thoughts about Taylor's old team trying to pry him from his new team?
This reminds me of a soap opera on Days of Our Lives, where it's just back and forth. Taylor leaves, wins the MVP with the new girlfriend called the New Jersey Devils. Now that things are not looking so good right now, being, 0-4-2. Really 0-6. Now the rumors start. But do you think, what? I wouldn't mind a big trade as long as Ray Sherrow fleeces them again.
So we got two pieces coming out tomorrow on the Pucks and Pitchforks. One talking about 5 trades we'd love to see for Taylor Hall. And then I'm going to dig into this rumor, and I'm going to specifically focus on 5 players I'd like to get from the Edmonton Oilers. So we got plenty of Taylor Hall trade content coming out. But I want to preface it with this. All of our writers would rather Taylor Hall stay. We just don't want to lose him for nothing. So that's the thing. But, that's one of the rumors out there. Like I said, it was real quick. I saw it real last minute. But I want to preface it with this. Most rumors that come out that are from legit guys like Elliott and McKenzie and things like that, they usually come from one or two people. It's an agent or it's a team that strategically wants that rumor out there. Teams are not going to give out rumors that they don't want to get out. There aren't little moles out there working for Elliott and Bob. These are people who strategically put that out. And I could see Edmonton trying to show Connor or maybe, the new GM trying to show the owners like, hey, look what I'm doing. I'm trying to get Taylor Hall. MVP 2 years ago. I'm trying to get him back. Y'all lost this asset. I'm going to get him back. So I don't know how much weight I take in that. Ray Sherrow's not a guy who uses the media very often. So he's clearly not the person who's putting it out there. And I don't think Ferris, Hall's agent, is really making that kind of a move at this point in the season, especially with Edmonton. That would just be a weird look. So I would say the Edmonton people who have everything to gain from this are probably the ones putting this out there.
I would think so. It'll spur fan interest. It's also, kind of that test marketing little thing, see what the fans are thinking,
Yeah. Now, the other rumor I heard is one that kind of disgusts me in like every level of my being. But this one, I have not verified where this one's come from. So this could just be literally a made up rumor that it comes from nowhere. It's very possible because I have not tracked down the original source of this. But there's a rumor out there that there's a trade talk with the Los Angeles Kings to bring Jonathan Quick to the Devils. Now, what the Devils would give up is Corey Schneider and another asset. Sam, I would question everything that I liked about Ray Shero if he made this deal. First of all, Jonathan Quick doesn't look like he's good anymore, and he hasn't looked good in 2 years. And you could blame the Los Angeles Kings defense, but guess what? We don't have a good defense. So it's not like he's coming to Columbus or Carolina. He's going to the Devils. He's not bringing Drew Doughty with him. And I feel like that Schneider's probably a better goalie than him right now. Schneider has 3 years left on his deal, and Quick has 4. They make about the same amount of money, and then you're also going to give an extra asset on top of it? Sam, please tell me that this is all a joke.
Well, Jonathan Quick isn't Quick anymore. I mean, he was so 2012. At that point, like, why? I'd rather just go with Corey at this. There's nothing to gain out of that trade, really, or anything significant.
Schneider's not the problem.
No, he
hasn't been the problem all season. I mean, like in that game against Florida, maybe 2 were partially his fault. Maybe one was his fault. The fourth goal, I think, was his fault. But the other ones, I mean, nobody's stopping that. Brodeur in his prime weren't stopping those goals. That was just going to be a blowout no matter what. So I don't know. That was a rumor I just wanted to address. I'm not going to address that one on the Pucks and Pitchforks blog because, like I said, I don't know where it came from, and I don't want to just be throwing anything out there.
And also, I have a little beef. I wish I had that soundbite because we still can't play certain audio on my board. But I have a little beef because some idiot out there are a lot of trolls on the internet, had a John Hines was fired or relieved of his duty tweet, and it looked so similar to the @NJ Devils account, but it was off by one letter, and that caused a little hysteria for 5 minutes amongst the Let's Go Devils podcast team behind the scenes. But what we do is we trust and verify. We trust it. We try to verify it. I couldn't find it on the Devils Twitter feed before we retweeted it or whatever. And shame on that person for doing that, because at the end of the day, okay, there's a big possibility that John Hines may be relieved of his duties. But when you start pulling that kind of crap, I have a sense of humor, but at the same time, I also have a heart. John Hines has a family. John Hines, is a human being. He's a good coach. He's a good guy. I hate it when people do that kind of stuff, not because I was tricked, but I was tricked for maybe 30 seconds because I get alerts on my phone. And I didn't see any alert from the Devils. So I was a little suspicious, but this is why we have to verify in this day and age. I'm not a journalist, but you are, Nick. And, before we start rumors, I just thought that I have a little beef with that because Yeah, I like horsing around, but I think that went a little too far. Just a little too far.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same people who on draft deadline day, or I'm sorry, on trade deadline day and on free agency day, they're, fake Bob McKenzie, or, and they make the and Bob McKenzie is 0 or something like that, or, Elliott, or, all these other breaking news people. Can I go hard on this? Because this is pathetic. Like, this is just like attention grabbing, like begging for clicks, like,
Yep.
I just want, and you know what? Honestly, like, say what you want about my blog. I get a lot of pucks and picks for it's just trash. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. Y'all are pieces of garbage, yada, yada, yada. Fine, whatever. But I've never posted myself as anything than an opinion writer and somebody who's just trying to get people to talk and have a conversation and things like that. And honestly, that's, if you don't like what I put out there, that's completely fine. But I'm never going to lie to you. I'm never going to put something out there without verifying my sources, unless it's obviously sarcastic. And I'll usually throw a GIF on there that shows that it's sarcastic. But again, it wouldn't be news. Somebody does something like this, is literally just crying for attention. And they're like, look at all my retweets. Oh my God, I'm so cool. I got 100 retweets and tricked all these people. Da, da, da. Like, what the, like, sure, whatever. You're cool, buddy. But like, what are you at the end of the day? Like, nobody knows who you are. You only have yourself to feel cool about. And at the end of the day, you get nothing out of it except for, if you get exposed, then you just get a lot of people lose respect for you. But that's just my 2 cents. I hate those things. Like, that's, that makes our lives, in my day job, it makes journalist jobs harder. I don't consider myself a journalist with the Pucks and Pitchforks blog. I do in my day job, though, because it is hard work. It is, something that we're trying to do and, put ourselves out there. And a lot of these sports journalists, you look at the people like, Chris and Dan and Abby and, and Amanda and all these people who are working really hard to get these scoops and trying to get these stories and trying to get it out there. And Corey, of course, they're doing really good work and they're working really hard for a team. We only have 5 beat writers. For somebody to go out there and just kind of try to run amok and try to take advantage on a team and a fan base that's on the brink. I mean, good for you, buddy. You got your 5 seconds of fame. And now nobody's going to care about you from now on. I'm sure you got a lot of people who told Twitter about you, and that account will be taken down, and we won't have to worry about it soon. So whatever. That's just my 2 cents. I'm sure I'm going to make enemies out of people who thought it was funny. And if you thought it was funny, that's fine. That's your opinion. But I thought it was just a stupid situation to put us in.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what's a funny account. Like, General Marcus Johansson or something like that, or whatever. That's funny because it's obvious. But parody accounts are fun, but that kind of stuff is kind of. And I wonder if there's a Ranger fan behind the scenes doing it. You never know.
It's not. I know who it is, but I'm not going to call them out.
Oh, okay. Well, it's also the other thing too that fooled me was when the Devils changed the Twitter handle from @NHL Devils to @NJ Devils, that somebody registered that account immediately and this and that. And for 30 days there, I thought, gee, did everyone unfollow the Devils? Not thinking that they had changed
their handle.
Yeah, their handle. So, but anyway.
Well, I'm going to step down on my soapbox because, Sam, we got a new challenger coming in for the game. Now, the game, I changed it up for this week. It's been a very depressing week. I didn't want to do a trivia-based game this week because I wanted to just have some fun with this and get some laughs for the fan base. I think the fan base needs to laugh, Sam. So this week's game, I'm hoping is just going to be a funny one. It's really simple. It's Halloween themed. I love Halloween. So, one of the first games we did is kind of the you're stuck on an island and you have to pick players to do this, this, and that. We picked something based on that format to kind of base this game off of, but it's very simplified. I'm going to ask them a couple questions about what you think certain people in the Devils organization will wear as a Halloween costume. It's literally that simple. Sorry about the simple game this week. I just thought this would be fun. This would be funny. I thought this would get people laughing, and I really, really need to laugh. I need to hear some laughs this week. I would love it if when I asked certain players, oh yeah, I got a Batcat shirt on right now. So I saw that Tim pointed out, yes, this is my Batcat shirt. Again, I need more laughs. Just more laughs, Batcats, Halloween, games, things like that. I'm getting a lot of likes on this shirt. People love this shirt. Love the shirt. More of the shirt. More of the shirt. Anyway, but yeah, I really appreciate you guys. I mean, I also want to point one other thing out is, thank you guys for jumping on with us on Monday. Really big viewing numbers from the Let's Go Devils fans on Monday. You guys were as sad as us. We were glad to bring that extra podcast, that extra content to you. Maybe we could talk each other off the ledge. This has been it's been really fun to talk to all the Devils fans and talk about the Devils, but it just hasn't been fun to watch them because it's just been so depressing. So, like I said, have to get some fun. We are the fun, like Sam says with the hashtag. And, it's just a big week in New Jersey Devils hockey. I think that this week is important. We play New York tomorrow. We play Vancouver on Saturday, 1 p.m. game. Then we go 5 days off. We go to Arizona, Arizona comes here. And then we get another 4 days off before Tampa comes here. And Tampa right now looks ripe. But you got to remember that game is 2.5 weeks away. And Tampa destroyed us in the regular season last season. But the season before that, we swept them in the regular season. So there's still... I don't know, folks. There's still a lot. Sam's still working on getting that guest, so I'm going to just keep talking. I do want to real quick while he's getting that guest talk real quick about that. Oh no, Sam's back. So I guess we'll have to wait. Keep them on the edge of their seat, Sam.
Oh, I'm just putting him up, potting him in the board right now. But yeah, you can keep on going.
No, I just wanted to go right back on that. On the Taylor Hall rumors, we got to expect them. They're going to come more and more over the next couple months. If first of all, if the ship doesn't turn around, they're going to come. Second of all, especially even if the Devils win the next 10 games in a row, but Taylor Hall does not sign a contract, there will be more Taylor Hall rumors coming around because, and I did this. I've written about every player out there that seemingly was available. So this is what you expect when a major star appears available. You're right about it. I wrote about Erik Karlsson last year. I wrote about John Carlson the year before that. So we have to expect it. If we're going to talk about, everybody talked about John Carlson coming to the Devils. Everybody talked about Kevin Shattenkirk coming to the Devils. So if we're going to do that, we also have to expect people to do it for Taylor Hall when the shoe is on the other foot. Sam, are you good?
Yeah, no, we're good. I'm sorry. I'm multitasking right now. I'm just running the board. Yeah. Should we get our next guest? Or
yes,
did you
we
ask
should.
me a question because I wasn't paying attention?
No. I only asked you if you were there.
Oh, okay. All right. So this next victim, because I think I am on a streak right now, a winning streak. He's from the Pucks and Pitchforks. He's a contributor. I should ask him, did he used to play for the New York Giants and then added an E at the end of his last name just to be incognito? We have Dave Brown, also known as Brownie, on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline. Dave, are you ready for the woo to break my streak? Or are you ready to be disappointed going home, but come back tomorrow at PJ Ryan's at 5 p.m. Eastern for the live event before the Devils Rangers game.
Hey, I'm ready to go. Bring it.
All right, so Dave, you came on an interesting game night. Like I was telling our Let's Go Devils podcast fans, I needed some positivity, and Dave, you've been the positive guy in our chat, and you've been the positive guy, the writer. You've been the guy telling us that we just need to calm down. We need to temper expectations. We need to be nice to everybody. So I figured you would be the guy to bring on for the positive game. So it's going to be an interesting game tonight. It's very cut and dry. And that was for Sam Wu's case, because I need to keep I got complicated with the rules on Sam and didn't go well, right, Sam?
Yeah, and Sam's not very smart either, so he just wins.
All right. So here's the game. Halloween is just around the corner, and the New Jersey Devils every single year have a little costume party. And all the younger guys go, and it's a lot of fun. We get to see the Instagram pictures and see what everybody was. So tonight, we're going to have ourselves a little party, and we're going to guess what costume would fit our New Jersey Devils current players and other personnel.
All right. Sounds good. Let's play it.
Okay, so you're both going to guess for each player. And then I'm going to choose which one I like better, because I am the king here, and that is how it goes. So, Sam, are you ready as well?
Bring it.
So the party has started. We're going to have the party this year at Nico's house, because Nico is on the cusp of making a big contract, so he's thinking of buying a house. And he's going to invite everybody to the party. And first person to come there, he came there with some speed. In comes through the door Mr. Miles Wood. Miles Wood is dressed as what, Dave?
Miles Wood is dressed up as Flash. He's fast. He's good with the skates. Not so much the hands, but in terms of speed, definitely Flash.
Okay, a good start. But Sam, do you have a better costume for one Miles Wood?
He's going to dress up as a rock because he's got stone hands.
Oof. Sam, I told you to be funny. Sure. What happened?
Oh, I don't know. Why,
and you know what? You would have got extra points if you said a pet rock, but you just went with a rock. So, or if you said the Rock, Dwayne Johnson, also would have gotten extra points. But for now, the lead goes to Dave, which makes Dave the home team. So that means, Sam, you're going first on the next one.
All right.
So Miles Wood and Nico are chatting. I think Miles Wood spiked the punch bowl, but he is one to do that. In comes New Jersey Devils star Taylor Hall. Now, Sam, what is Mr. Hall dressed up as?
Oh, Taylor Hall. He's dressed up like Taylor Ham because that's what it's called. Tim Taylor Ham.
Sam, you don't want to win this one, do you?
Are you kidding me? That was great.
All right. Dave, you could literally say anything here, but what are you going to say for Taylor Hall?
Taylor Hall. Wow. That's a good one. Sam didn't set the bar really high, but oh, wow. I'm going to say that. Wow.
5 seconds. 4, 3.
He's going to be Anakin Skywalker, the good Anakin Skywalker, because Taylor Hall is going to re-sign long-term with the New Jersey Devils. He's not going to be Darth Vader and go over to the dark side and want to go anywhere else. He's Anakin. He's a good Skywalker. He hasn't turned. He's going to be Anakin Skywalker.
Well, David Holiday says he's going to dress up as a Brinks truck full of money, and I think that's kind of funny. But I like Anakin, and you know what? I think that I'm going to build off that. I think that Taylor Hall is going to sign long term with the Devils, and then he's going to go coach the Rangers when he's old, and that's how he's going to turn on the dark side. So, point goes to Dave again.
All right, I'll take a 2-0 lead. All right.
So, Sam.
3-0 lead might be the worst lead in hockey, so got to be careful.
Sam, you're up next. Now, the guys are having a good time. You know, they're dancing a little bit. They're getting slim. They're getting loose. But then in comes John Hines. But John Hines is here. He's here to have a good time, you know, and he comes in. He's like, don't worry, guys. I'm not the big bad boss tonight. Look at me. I'm dressed up as what, Sam?
A fireman?
Okay.
Here, let me play it.
Dave, what's your answer?
Wow, that's the seat's hot for sure, but I wasn't expecting firemen there. John Hines is going to be dressed up as a man looking for a new job. He's going to be on the unemployment line in a couple of weeks. I'm a positive guy, but the way things are going now, he's going to be dressed up like someone who needs a new job. So I'm going to say he's going to be dressed up as someone who's on the unemployment line.
Ouch, man, this took a turn. Sorry, John. Well, I got to give that one to Sam because I like the fireman. I'm not gonna lie, that was very creative. So Sam, you are you're back to being the host somehow.
It looks like Dave Brown with the E is blowing the lead like the New Jersey Devils. Just want to point that out there.
Well, if I'm the New Jersey Devils, I'm blowing a 3 or 4-0 lead. So,
oh man, Tim called him a bus driver. That is, oh man, we are harsh out here. All right. I'm turning this bus around. Next on the list, John Hines is having a good time. He's hanging out with Taylor. He's putting his arm around him. He's talking about, remember that basketball game we went to? Look at my axe. It's cool. But then in comes Ray Shero. Ray Shero, he's got the Vince McMahon walk. He's kind of swinging and swagging. But he's dressed up. He's got the mean face on, but he's got a funny costume on. So, Dave, what is Ray Shero dressed up as tonight?
He's dressed up as the Grinch because he can't be too happy with what's going on right now. So I'm saying he's going to be dressed up as the Grinch, and he is stealing away Ray Shero's job. Or I'm sorry, John Hines' job.
Oh wow, we went back there, Sam. How about you? What do you think Ray Shero is going to dress up as for Halloween?
Is he mad when he walked in? I just want to clarify.
Yeah, he's still got a little mad face.
He dressed up as his predecessor, Lou Lamoriello, and he's holding a jar of jelly, about to throw it against the wall.
Oh man! All right, folks, all right, I'm the loser in that round, so we're just going to move on. We have 2 more. Now, coming in fashionably late, but still looking real good, it's Corey Schneider. Schneider's like, I'm old, but I'm still here to party. It's Halloween. And Dave, what is Corey Schneider dressed up as?
Well, according to the rumors tonight, he's going to be dressed up as a king if rumors hold true. So I'm going to say he's going to be dressed up like a king. I doubt it happens, but for some goofs, he's going to dress up as a king. He's going to dress up as a king.
That would be a good troll move. That would be a good troll move. So, Sam, what do you think? What's Corey Schneider going to dress up as?
I'd say Carrot Top.
Just because he's a redhead?
Well, this team is a joke, isn't it?
Oh.
Knee slapper.
All right. I'm going to award you both the same amount of points. Just say it's tied because that brings on the drama. So now is where it gets hard. Dave, you're going to go first. You're going to find a costume for the man in costume. What is NJ Devil, the Devil's mascot, going to dress up as for Halloween?
Ooh, how about an angel? Because as an April Fool's joke a couple years back, they became the New Jersey Angels. So why not become his alter ego and become an angel?
I love the irony. I love the there's some mean people out here on this Facebook chat on these costumes. I asked for this, but Sam, can you beat Send Me an Angel?
I want to say it, but I don't know if I should. That's the problem, and I can't think of anything else. I would say he'll put on Slapshot the Puck costume.
Why?
Because that was the previous mascot before NJ Devil. But we won't go there.
Tim says he wants him to be Mr. Bat, which I thought that would be pretty funny. Matt says he should be Gritty. I mean, I don't know. I could use a rage room right now. All right, so I'm going to declare the champion. Dave, I wasn't that terrible quarterback in the Giants Brown. Sam, your win streak is over.
I knew I was gonna blow it with that last one, but I honestly couldn't think of anything else because I was laughing deep down inside.
Well, I hope I could bring you folks a laugh. I hope we got a little laugh out of it. But yeah, no, I just real quick, I gotta say that Dave Brown was my first ever experience with a hockey team, or I'm sorry, with a football team, because I was all hockey and baseball to start my life. And that didn't go well. So Dave Brown, I'm glad you're not a terrible quarterback.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I was not expecting a Dave Brown NFL quarterback for the Giants reference today. It totally caught me by surprise. So
we are full of surprises here.
Really,
Let's Go Devils.
He really set the bar low. So I'm glad that I could, redeem the name of Dave Brown with an E at the end of it, though, at least.
Yeah, I mean, if we were going to go Giants quarterback, you had to go with West Virginia University quarterback Jeff Hostetler. So, if you need some advice.
MVP of the Super Bowl. Absolutely. Almost 7. I mean, that's something that you never take back. Super Bowl champion, West Virginia University.
Hey, Dave. I went to Penn State. You guys are going down in the next couple of years.
Hey,
we play in like 2028.
Happy Valley. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought we played in like 2028. We got like a decade before we have to worry about this.
We'll be pushing 40, 45 years old when that happens. But no, I'm pretty sure it's in 2023, 2024, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's you got to renew the rivalry, old Big East and everything like that. You got to renew the rivalry, and it should be fun. It should be a fun series. Unfortunately, we have to wait for it though.
Pete Jr. says maybe the Devils will win by 2020. Hey, Pete, I really hope so. All right, Dave. Thank you for coming on. We'll have you on again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. Congratulations. You better remember it because that's the last time you'll ever beat me. I can't believe I had that question actually stumped me, and that's the only thing I could think of. A mascot putting on another mascot costume on. Anyway, That was stupid.
I mean, you should have been like, he went as dead Gritty or something, like Gritty with like an axe in his back or a knife in his back. Get real dark with it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, it was a good podcast.
Oh yeah, we had a great time. We talked some rumors. We got some last minute guests.
Yep.
But we'll get Chris on for another one. Chris will come on. You know, we talked about a later date. You know, I'm not sure what happened, but it happens. You know, people things come up.
I'll tell you what happened. This is his first Devils Rangers game that he's covering. He's got to be prepared for it. So
you don't think he got kidnapped and somebody took over his Twitter, right? You don't think Rangers fans or Rangers organization trying to restart the rivalry? You know how like in high school they start the rivalry by taking the mascot? Maybe the Rangers took it a step too far.
Anyway, yeah. I mean,
we're not even responding to that one.
Yeah, I'm already like, you know, planning my pranks against the New York Rangers. Like if there's ever a protest or something like that, I'm for knocking down Madison Square Garden and building a railroad track. You know, I'll join. I'll join that protest.
Do you know how mad Rangers fans were when I made that joke article? I wrote that joke article about how it could be worse, and one of them was that the Rangers could buy the Rock because they were knocking down MSG, and Ranger fans did not like that.
Wow. Yeah, you know, once an article gets shared, it can go viral, and if it hits the wrong demographic, you'll hear it, Nick. You know, you'll hear it.
Just keep giving me them clicks, Ranger fans. It's fine. You can yell at me and scream at me. I love it. I feed off Rangers hate. I feed off of it rent free, Sam. We're 0-4-2, and we still live rent free in their head. It's amazing.
Yeah, actually, I was looking at our demographics for the podcast downloads, which were approaching almost 30,000 downloads. We're definitely increasing our numbers, and what I thought was very interesting, the top number one city that listens to our podcast is New York City. And, you know, we want to thank the fans. We're assuming that they're Devils fans for listening in, because they're listening in on probably their ride or their commute into the city to go to work. And Mondays especially is our biggest day because it starts the week, and we have just finished the Let's Go Devils podcast every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And when we drop it in at Monday morning at 12:05 a.m. And that's pretty cool. And our demographics is changing. Australia, the UK, at one point over the summer, India was listening in. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was pretty cool. So
Devils
and
fans
also,
all over the world.
Yeah, Norway, this and that. So, you know, the podcast is starting to travel. We're going to be at PJ Ryan's tomorrow. Fun starts at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have some great guests. I believe Arlette's going to be there, Pete the organist, and a special guest may appear, but that special guest needs to confirm tomorrow. But we can't just reveal it, but we will. Once we get the green light, we will blast it over social media. It's something I think Shorts guys, when I told him who potentially could be on, his exact words in the text message is, Sam, this will put us over the top. Who could it be? Who could be our special guest potentially tomorrow at PJ Ryan's at the Rock, 35 Edison Place, second floor? Yeah, remember that, second floor. You got to go up the stairs. It's just like when mom and dad used to yell at you, go up to your room. It's the same thing, you know, in in this case, the owners were like,
is that what it is,
"Go
Sam? Is that what it is?
We don't want your shenanigans on the first floor. Go to your room, second floor." And we're
Yeah,
gonna
but your
have
room's
beer
got all the cool
specials.
stuff in it.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, we can do stuff that mom and dad don't know about. You know. Up
There you go.
Yeah, we're gonna be rivals.
One last plug, Sam.
Yep.
We need you guys to give us you were talking about the downloads, but we need more of those 5 stars. We need you to go in the Apple Store, the Apple Podcasts, or your Google Play Store. Give us a couple more of those 5 stars. And, even if you've listened to it live, you've given us that live feed here. We love the live viewers. You guys interact with us, you talk with us. But if you could just go in, give us one of them 5 stars, I'd really appreciate it.
We should kind of teach them how to do it. So you go into Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, you go to the search, type in "Let's Go Devils Podcast," will pop up. Click on it. You want to rate, review, and subscribe. And that's one way to support the Let's Go Devils podcast, State of the Fan Address, and write a nice review. Actually, I saw 2 reviews. I like everybody except for Woo. It's probably those YouTube livers. But hey.
Lots of Woo.
Yeah. Some people just don't like me. But anyway, it's what we say. The more haters we have, the more we know that we're growing. So that's all. It's all good. It's all good.
We're making it happen.
Yeah. So, all right. So we got our plugs in. Tom Fitzgerald
It's time to
will
go.
be on the bench. Yep. Tom Fitzgerald will be on the bench tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we're going to broadcast somewhere around 5:30, 5:45 Eastern from PJ Ryan's at the Rock, as we said. And also, and Nick, this is probably the first time you're hearing, also, we may do a post game depending upon what happens, or we may not. But remember, after the game, check us out at Let's Go Devils Podcast on Facebook, at Let's Go Devils Pod on Twitter and Periscope, and on our YouTube channel, Let's Go Devils. That's all. That's all I'm going to plug.
All right, Sam. All the plugs are in. And like I told everybody on Monday, we're going to have Pucks and Pitchforks content every single day. So come to this. We're going to have those 2 Taylor Hall pieces tomorrow and then some. So make sure you're getting on the blog. We got a lot of cool stuff coming.
Great. Well, we'll see you tomorrow at PJ Ryan's at the Rock. Till next time, let's go Devils.